Hello there guys, welcome to another my live video. You are all aware that Manchester United, we have got a list of managers on our agenda, who could replace Ole Gunnar Solskjaer at the football club. Now I think we have identified Max Allegri as our primary candidate to replace Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Now we do know that there has been a lot of talks about Max Allegri, at least in the last 2 to 3 weeks, about him possibly becoming the next Manchester United manager, because as you are all aware of, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is under serious pressure at the football club, reflecting on our disastrous start to the season. But I have just been reading recent reports about Max Allegri, and it reportedly says if he would want to he would want Patrice Evra as his as part of his backroom staff. If he was to replace Ole Gunnar Solskjaer at Manchester United. Max Allegri also came out not too long ago, and he also did say he would take over at Manchester United if he was to be assured the job within the next couple of weeks. But maybe some Manchester United fans, or the vast majority of Manchester United fans, believe that Max Allegri would be the right candidate for the football club. Now I think recent reports indicated out saying that Max Allegri has been learning English in preparation for his potential move. Max Allegri has got a lot of managerial experience. He's been managing for just over 16 years. He hasn't been managerless for long. He obviously stepped down as Juventus manager at the end of last season. Obviously, he served 5 years with Juventus, and actually, won the vast majority of his silverware with Juventus. Also, led them to 2 Champions League finals, and I think Massimiliano, I think, is in around his 50s and that. So, do you think he would be the right man for Manchester United? But we do know there's obviously no other managers on our current agenda. Obviously, Mauricio Pochettino is no longer our top priority. We actually went in for Mauricio Pochettino before, we recommended Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in. Pochettino was our primary candidate after the sacking of Jose Mourinho. Like I mentioned, the only element of concern I've got about Mauricio Pochettino, that obviously, he hasn't won out in terms of silverware. Obviously, he's well proven in the Premier League. He's good at developing young players, as he has proven, during his tenure with Tottenham. He is now into his 6th season with Tottenham, and Tottenham have also endured a really bad start to the season. So reflect on their bad start to the season. Also, Mauricio Pochettino is under, immense pressure. I think if Pochettino, was to be sacked by Tottenham and the Manchester United job also became vacant, I think, he would grasp that opportunity. At the time we went in for Pochettino, obviously, he had no intentions of leaving Tottenham. But I think if we was to reignite our interest in Pochettino, then I do believe, we probably, would have to pay around £32 million in compensation, to recommend him in to the football club, despite the fact that I don't think he's got a release clause in his contract. Mauricio Pochettino, I think, did sign a 5-year contract with Tottenham last summer with around 8.5 million a year. Obviously, before Pochettino was at Tottenham, obviously, he had a short tenure with Southampton where I thought he did really, really well. Pochettino now has been managing for just over a decade. Obviously, he began his managerial career in 2009 with Espanyol. But obviously, our preference was Ole Gunnar Solskjaer over Pochettino on that, because obviously Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was a cheaper solution. Obviously, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and that, knows the culture and that and the football club. But like I mentioned, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's tenure, he's not going to become successful at Manchester United. And there's also been other managers mentioned. A lot of Manchester United fans would like to see Arsene Wenger come in. I think there's various managers, on our agenda, and that. But I think Arsene Wenger, is one of the, unlikely ones in that. I think, Arsene Wenger's turned down a few offers, from Premier League clubs. I think he was also interested in taking over the Lyon job with Wenger. I think Wenger now has been managerless for over a year, because don't forget, he did step down as Arsenal manager back in May 2018 after he served 22 years with Arsenal. Obviously, Arsene Wenger and Alex Ferguson are the 2 longest serving managers in obviously English football. But do you think Arsene Wenger, would be the right candidate? Obviously, there has been a lot of talks about Laurent Blanc. Obviously, Laurent Blanc, is actually, a former Manchester United player. I was reading reports about Laurent Blanc the other week, and it wasn't too long ago, and they said, he was favourite to take the Lyon job. Obviously, there's been some talks about Brendan Rodgers, but as it stands at the moment, Max Allegri is the number one priority if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, is to be sacked by the football club. But obviously, we do know that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, overall has been at Manchester United now, for around 10 months. So he has been at the football club, just under a year. So you can analyse it, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has endured a difficult 7-month tenure at Manchester United. And obviously Solskjaer came in December of last year, following the dismissal of Jose Mourinho. And, obviously, Solskjaer, as you all know, came in at the first term as the interim manager. And of course, he was the interim manager for 3 months. And in that 3-month period, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer did really, really well. Obviously, the results were really, really good. The performances were really, really good, and of course, he was getting the best out of these group of players, and of course, he did exceed expectations. But since he got the job in March, obviously, which was obviously earlier on this year. Everything, of course, has just seemed to have all gone wrong, basically, because, since Solskjaer got the job permanently, we've only won 5 of our last 23 games in all competitions. It's also been revealed that we have the 4th worst record in the Premier League since he got the job permanently. I think it's only Southampton, Brighton and Watford that have worse records than Manchester United, and we are enjoying our worst start to a Premier League season for 3 decades. And, I think we've only failed to secure European football once since 1990, which is obviously now over 20 odd years ago. But obviously we know that we're not in a Champions League football this season, and I did initially say that's one of the main reasons that went against us in the summer, because obviously if you're not in Champions League football, obviously in that aspect it's going to be hard to attract players to the elite level. So during the summer, this is why a lot of players had element of concerns about joining the football club. But like I updated you on my previous videos, Solskjaer is making plans for the January transfer window. Ed Woodward is also making plans for the January window. Like I mentioned on my last video, Ed Woodward has been given 6 potential transfer targets by Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, but definitely furthermore investment is needed in the squad. Obviously, like I mentioned, we did recommend 3 good players to the squad during the summer. We spent nearly £150 million. So in the summer, we did address some of the problematic areas in that, but we didn't address all the problematic areas. So for me, we need to get a midfielder in. We need to add depth in that midfield. We need creativeness in that midfield. I think we definitely need an attacker. Someone that can, bring that fluidity up there, someone who can add that inspiration in that attacking third of the pitch, and someone that can assure Manchester United goals, because we've only managed 9 goals so far in the Premier League this season, in 8 Premier League games. And like I mentioned on my last video, on my recent videos, we look so exposed now in that attacking line, following the dismissal of Romelu Lukaku and Alexis Sanchez, also with the injury of Anthony Martial. So we definitely need a striker. So these still deficiencies in the squad, that do need to be addressed without a shadow of a doubt. I probably do believe that, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, will be here by January, because I think, recent reports did indicate out. Recent reports did indicate out saying that, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, should be safe at Manchester United, at least for the next couple of games, because reports were reflecting out the other week saying if we was to suffer a heavy defeat to Liverpool, then that could put Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's job in serious jeopardy at Manchester United. We do know that it's obviously, if Manchester United, were to sack him, it has been revealed how much it would cost the club. It's basically next to no. Basically, it only cost us around £7 million to get rid of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. That's obviously, around half than what we paid to get rid of Jose Mourinho, because we paid around £20 million to get rid of Jose Mourinho, if you do remember rightly. But I think he still will be here by January, and I think Solskjaer is keen on continuing the policy of recruiting young British players, like he did do earlier on in the summer. Well, like I mentioned, I've got some element of concerns about Solskjaer. There's also, there's some certain aspects I credit him for as well. But my element of concerns about him, he hasn't, got that intuition as a manager. He hasn't really got that managerial experience to the highest level. Obviously, his tactics and that are questionable, and I will admit, Manchester United are tactically inept. And I think, due to our, bad, disastrous start to the season and our inconsistency, I think definitely Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has got to take some responsibility. I think, the blame stems from everybody. I think, personally, the vast majority of the blame does stem from the board. Because like I mentioned on my recent videos, I think the board have been a liability for several years, like I mentioned with the poor recruitment and, the poor selection of managers. Also, too, they didn't back Ole Gunnar Solskjaer enough, during the summer. And I think actually the board did a short at the beginning of this season that regardless of what happens this season, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's job, should be safe at least until May, because I think the board realised that they didn't back him enough, during the course in the summer. But I think the board have assured that he will be back in the next couple of windows. I was reading recent reports and it did say if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is to be at Manchester United, obviously in the next two summer transfer windows, then, he will be, he's ready to make 8 new signings at the football club. But I didn't initially say, I think we need at least 5 to 6 more signings, if we are to be back, to being a competitive elite level football club, in my opinion. And obviously, you got recently, Ryan Giggs coming out saying, that Solskjaer, needs more time at the football club. He believes Man United need now around another 4 or 5 more signings to bring the glory days back to Manchester United. So, also you got Gary Neville coming out a couple of weeks ago, criticising the board. And I do agree with him on that aspect. And, there's still, I know the vast majority of Man United fans, are demanding Solskjaer out and that, obviously a lot of industries and that believe, he will be gone by Christmas. But like I mentioned, you're still getting certain former Man United players, you're still getting, certain Man United fans, that are saying, we should still give him time at the football club. We should give him at least a couple more windows, to see who else, he can recommend into the football club. Because, we are aware that a massive rebuild is needed. And I think, despite the fact that, a lot of players have left, since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's arrival, I still believe, these more problematic players of the football club, that do need to be moved on in January and next summer, in my own opinion. But, analysing the majority of this squad, it isn't Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's, so you can quite frankly say, he's still in the process of rebuilding. Don't forget, actually the majority of this team is Jose Mourinho's, because obviously, Jose Mourinho did recommend 11 players into the football club. He spent just under £400 million. And, Solskjaer's obviously, still inheriting the vast majority of Jose Mourinho's players. But we do know now, in this generation, obviously, managers, don't get the time, that they would, that they require, basically. They don't get the time that they require, because we know now, that obviously, the boards are a lot more ruthless and that. But definitely, the board won't stick with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I think, they're only sticking with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer at this present time is because obviously, he was a club legend. He was a great player for Manchester United for 11 years and that. And this is the only reason they're sticking with him at the moment. I think, if it would have been any other manager, I think, they would have been sacked by now. But definitely, he won't last Manchester United, in my opinion. I think the mistake the football club did make, was obviously giving him the job and that. Don't forget, he has got a 3-year contract as Solskjaer. But he isn't going to last at Manchester United. And, Solskjaer is our 4th permanent manager since the Alex Ferguson era. And like I mentioned, and I do keep mentioning that, we haven't got the structure to keep sacking managers. Even though we have sacked 3 managers, since the Alex Ferguson era. So that's 3 managers, since the Alex Ferguson era and that. But in my opinion, I think everything, needs to improve at Manchester United. I think, the results need to improve, the performances need to improve, the away form needs to improve because I think it's now 11 away games that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's had without a win at Man United. I think the style of play needs to improve. The brand of football is absolutely atrocious. So basically, everything needs to improve at the football club, and I think also the board need to assure structural changes and that at the football club. Whether they can assure these structural changes or not, I do not know. I think the vast majority of these players also need to take responsibility because they haven't been performing good enough, and I think a lot of them do need a reality check. So I think some of the blame does stem from certain players. Also, some of the blame does stem from Ed Woodward. I think also Ed Woodward needs to take a lot of responsibility, and you have also got the vast majority of Manchester United fans demanding Ed Woodward out of the football club. Obviously as well, they've been demanding Edward out, for quite some time, basically. And like I did initially say, though, Solskjaer, has got a lot of honesty. That's one good thing about him. He notices, that he's under serious pressure and that at the football club. And Solskjaer recently came out and said, he fears, he will be sacked by Manchester United if Manchester United, do finish out of the top 6 this season, basically. Because, we actually finished 6th last season. And I think last season, was the lowest we finished, since the David Moyes era. Because I think we finished 7th, was it? Or was it 6th under the David Moyes era? I think, it was actually 7th. But, we actually enjoying a worse season this season than what we saw last season. We're only sitting 2 points above the relegation zone. You can quite frankly say, we are facing a relegation battle. Actually some Man United fans fear if we do keep Solskjaer, that we will end up, getting relegated. I don't think the club will get relegated. We haven't been relegated, of course, since 1974. But, reflecting on the amount of money that's been invested at Manchester United on players in the last, 6 or 7 years, reflecting on the history of this football club, we should be much more of a commanding position, than winning now. It's just basically, not good enough. And Solskjaer is aware of the expectations he has to meet at the football club. I said at the start of the season that our expectations this season, will be to finish in that top 4. So obviously in that aspect, we can get back into the Champions League and that, because we need to get back into that Champions League. But I've already, disregarded the top 4, and I think if things continue to persist like they are, I think we won't even finish in the top 8 this season. That's basically how bad it's gone. But we are sitting 12 at the moment. So things, do need to improve at the football club. And a lot of people believe, us getting rid of Solskjaer now, or obviously, getting rid of him just before Christmas, wouldn't solve a lot of their problems at the football club. But for me, we should have never give Ole Gunnar Solskjaer the job. A lot of you've got obviously got the vast majority of Manchester United fans, obviously, now saying that and saying that. But like I mentioned, the good news is, it's good that obviously, we're making plans for the January window and that, and like I've been updating you today and quite recently, we have got quite a lot of players on our Kuhn agenda. Obviously, Solskjaer's been assured money to spend in January. To be quite honest with you, I don't think we'll do the vast majority of our transfer business in January. I think we'll do the vast majority of it next summer, to be quite honest with you, because obviously, reflecting back last January, obviously, we did a mistake by obviously, recommending Alexis Sanchez into the football club. Now, obviously, we do know that Sanchez, came in as part of a deal of Mkhitaryan going to Arsenal. Obviously, Sanchez didn't, perform to the standards as we all expected him to do, basically, when he first came into Manchester United. I thought he'd, succeed at Manchester United, reflecting back, what he did at Arsenal and Barcelona, and that he even played under Pep Guardiola's guidance when he was younger, but just didn't exceed expectations at Man United. He endured difficult 18 months with the football club. He only managed 45 appearances in all competitions and managed only 5 goals. Obviously, sustained quite a lot of injuries as a Manchester United player. And I'm just glad, we have now got him on loan with Inter Milan. I think it's a 10-month loan. Despite the fact that he's on loan, though, Man United are still paying the vast majority of Alexis Sanchez's wages. I still believe we're paying him around, £300,000 a week. But I said, the only way we would have got rid of Sanchez was obviously, putting him out on loan. Because obviously, when he was actually at the football club, he was on, 400 grand a week, potentially rising up to $500,000 a week with the bonuses and the image rights and that, and no team could afford basically, to get him out right. But yeah, glad I've got he's on loan. But even if we had kept him at the football club anywhere, he would have only been assured. He only would have been assured. Like to play in the Carabao Cup or the Europa League and that. So it's really, really good that he's gone. Plus he's aging up now. He's 31 years of age. But we could at least try and get a couple of players in January, or at least one player. Because analysing our recruitment policy, it isn't too good, to be quite honest with you. And I did initially say at the beginning of the summer and that obviously, we should orchestrate on being sensible with our recruitment. And like I mentioned, it's not always about spending big on players. It's not always about, getting them Glasgow players, because it doesn't always guarantee you success. And that's been proven with Manchester United in the last 6 or 7 years and that. Yeah, and yeah, so it is good, that we're making plans for January. And, like I mentioned, there's been a lot of talks, going on about Mario Mandzukic quite recently. Don't forget, we inquired about getting Mario Mandzukic towards the back end of the transfer window. We do know that he's obviously a cheap alternative. Man United probably only have to pay around £10 million for his services. And reportedly now we have reached a verbal agreement, to sign Mario Mandzukic in this upcoming January transfer window. Obviously, the only element of concern that Man United have got about recommending him in, and a lot of Man United fans may feel the same, that obviously, it's reflecting on his age, because he's now, 33 years of age. He's obviously, only got a couple of years left in his, footballing career and that. But I admire him because he's had a really, really good career as Mario Mandzukic. But yeah, he is a cheaper solution. Obviously, we're seeing him as an adequate replacement for Romelu Lukaku and that. Maybe you will still get certain Manchester United fans, thinking it was a mistake of us, getting rid of Romelu Lukaku. But even though Lukaku obviously had to go anywhere because he initially lost his place in the team. Obviously, now he lost his place in the team because obviously Allegri and Solsjaker's preference was Marcus Rashford. But Lukaku obviously endured 2 years with Manchester United. I thought Lukaku, was exceptional in his first season with the football club. I think he produced 27 goals in all competitions and scored in some pivotal games for us and that. But didn't really replicate that form in his second season because, like I mentioned, he lost his place in the team. I'm actually happy, with the money we did generate from his departure. We got, £70-odd million. So you can quite frankly say we recouped the money that we did recoup the money that we did pay for him from Everton a couple of years ago, because obviously, we paid around £75 million for him as well. Obviously, we're known for overpaying for players anyway. We've done it in recent years and that. We've done it quite a few times, to be quite honest with you. But yeah, like I mentioned, we definitely need a replacement for Romelu Lukaku. So do you think, Mario Mandzukic, would be the right, calibre player? Don't forget, towards the back end of the window, we inquired about getting Dybala in. Obviously, like I mentioned, there has been a lot of talks today about Declan Rice. Obviously, we inquired about getting Declan Rice, throughout the course of the summer. Like I mentioned, he wasn't one of our main priority targets. So what I mean is, we was tentatively linked with Declan Rice. We did inquire about his services. Probably the club are going to have to pay a substantial amount, to recommend him in if we can get him in January. I think reportedly Man United, could bid up to around £70 million for his services, and that would obviously, test West Ham. It would. West Ham do know how much of an imperative player he is, but if we offer 70 million, that could obviously, soften West Ham's stance on the player. Now, obviously, Declan Rice is, well Premier League proven. He initially learned his trade in the Premier League. He is only 20 years of age, despite the fact that he is only 20 years of age. He has cemented himself as a regular in West Ham's midfield, because he is predominantly a defensive midfielder, but he can also play as a centre back. And I believe Declan Rice would be the right calibre player for us. I think he'd blend in very, very well in that midfield because he can, break up the play and that. In total for West Ham, he's made 78 appearances in all competitions. 69 of those appearances have come in the Premier League. And, he's been at West Ham now several years, as Declan Rice. Been their senior squad now for over 2 years, I think. He's under contract to West Ham until 2024. Don't forget, before he was at West Ham, he was in Chelsea's youth academy, for around, was it 7 or 8 years? But I don't think he ever, got into Chelsea's first team. He's also very, very tall, which is very beneficial. So, Man United, could go in for him in January. Obviously, we do know quite recently, there has been a lot of talks about Moussa Dembele from Lyon. There has been a lot of talks about Moussa Dembele from Lyon. Obviously, like I mentioned, we was in for him during the course of the summer. Obviously, we didn't get him. Again, he's probably going to cost the club a substantial amount. I do believe Lyon are looking for somewhere in the region of around £71 million. Whether Man United are willing to pay that or not, I do not know. Reportedly, Moussa Dembele feels unsettled with Lyon. He is on into his second season as Lyon player. Obviously, last season was his debut season with Lyon. I think in total so far, he's scored 21 goals in 41 appearances in Ligue 1. And I think in all competitions he's made about 57, 58 appearances and scored around 28 goals. And Moussa Dembele, is an out and out number 9. So do you think he would be reliable, to obviously get them goals that Manchester United do need? He's on the contract with Lyon until 2023. Lyon did pay around £20 million for him last summer because, like I mentioned, he enjoyed a good couple of seasons with Celtic. Obviously, before he was at Celtic, he was at Fulham. He actually began his senior career with Fulham, so there has been a lot of talks about him, going on. There has been a lot of talks, about him, going on quite recently. Like I mentioned. Like I mentioned during the summer as well, we was in for Bruno Fernandes. Obviously, he was one of our main priority targets, but obviously, we didn't get him. But yeah, we have got quite a lot of players on our agenda in that. Obviously, like I mentioned, there's been talks about James Maddison. Quite recently, he's another player Manchester United, could go in for in January. But like I mentioned, this is the worst Manchester United team I've seen in this generation, for a number of years. Like I mentioned, back under the Alex Ferguson era, we had a great team. Obviously, we developed. We developed a lot. Ferguson, developed a lot of young players. Obviously, Ferguson controlled the transfer policy and the contracts and that. And we enjoyed 26 successful years under Alex Ferguson and that. So we had a great team under the Alex Ferguson era. But like Solsjaker was recently saying, this is a different era. With different players. Different groups, of course, that we are building in that. And obviously, Solskjaer, wants to build a team, that can win trophies and of course, that can be competitive in that. This is obviously what he wants to do, and obviously he wants to bring the fear factor back to the football club, and he wants to bring that winning mentality back to the football club. And obviously we know none of that's been there since the Alex Ferguson era. But I don't think Solskjaer is the right man, to elevate Manchester United forward. Like I said, we're not going to be, we won't be winning the league, for several years. I don't think, our expectation, I think, in the next couple of seasons anyway, our aspirations probably in the next couple of seasons, will be to finish in that top 4 and that, because obviously, analysing our squad at the moment, it isn't good enough, to win the league, as you all currently know. But like I mentioned, these still problematic players at the football club. The problematic players are, Young, Jones, Rojo, Matic, they're problematic players at Manchester United that I think need to be moved on in January or next summer. Obviously, we do know that obviously, we have got injuries. we have got a lot of injuries and that, you can take that into account, but like I mentioned, you can't use that as an excuse. Like I mentioned, the good news is, the vast majority of our players that are injured are expected to regain full fitness for the game against Liverpool on Sunday, which is good. So Martial's going to be back. I think Luke Shaw's going to be back. Don't forget Martial and Luke Shaw have both missed the last 7 games for Man United in all competitions with injury. Lingard's going to be back. I think Wan-Bissaka's going to be back, which is very, very good news because he's recently been ill as Wan-Bissaka. That's very, very good news. Pogba, don't forget, there has been recent reports about Pogba, saying that, he could miss, the game against Liverpool, with his ongoing foot injury. That's been surrounding the player for a matter of weeks. Like I mentioned, I think Paul Pogba's another player that will move on in January or next summer. So I think he actually recently said that fitness staff fear that Paul Pogba, could miss, all of October, and he won't be back until the beginning of November and that. So we still know how much of an imperative player that Paul Pogba is, even though he hasn't performed to the standards as where we all expected, basically, because I think he's mainly enjoyed a difficult time with Manchester United since he rejoined from Juventus back in 2016 and that. He's enjoyed a difficult time, in comparison to his time, when he was at Juventus, to be quite honest with you. But Paul Pogba, like I mentioned, I think he'll move on from the football club. I think he'll go in January. I'm glad we convinced him to stay for the, for now and that, which is very, very good news. Recent reports have indicated out saying that Paul Pogba is obviously demanding a substantial 600 grand a week from the football club if he's obviously to stay at Man United. I can't see Man United willing to meet them substantial wage demands. 600 grand a week, equates to around, £30 million a year. And as it stands at the moment on Paul Pogba's current contract, he's sitting on, 290 grand a week. So he's on just under 300 grand a week there. And he's actually, one of the highest paid players now as it stands at the football club. And he's got 2 years left on his current deal with an option, to extend it by a further year. And I do believe we've recently spoken with Paul Pogba's agent, Mini Raiola, obviously over the possibility of extending his contract and, to discuss his future at the football club. He has missed a lot of games this season, due to injury and that, but he has played in quite a few, and, he just hasn't been good enough. He hasn't even, scored, I don't think, this season. But like I mentioned, Paul Pogba confirmed that anywhere that he wanted to leave the club earlier on in the summer. This was back in June. He did say, obviously, he was seeking for a new challenge. And I still think, he's got the same thoughts. Obviously, it was mainly Real Madrid that were linked to him during the summer. I said, Paul Pogba didn't make his move to Real Madrid. Obviously, reflecting on the substantial amount we put on him, because we said we wanted around 180 million for Paul Pogba. Real Madrid were reluctant to meet that, but I still believe Paul Pogba's preference is a move to Real Madrid, because he indicated out at the beginning of this summer that he wants to play for Real Madrid at some point in his career. He classified Real Madrid as one of the biggest clubs in the world. But when he's on form, Pogba, we do know the difference he makes in that midfield. He brings that creativeness and that tenacity. And we mainly saw the best of Paul Pogba in that 3-month period when Allegri and Solsjaker was the interim manager. But yeah, you mainly see the rest of Paul Pogba when he's freed up. Obviously, Paul Pogba's not going to spend the entirety of his career from now with Manchester United. He's only 26 years of age, and he has still got a lot of development in him. But yeah, so there's some reports circulating out saying that he's obviously fighting to regain full fitness by Sunday. But there's some reports saying that it's nearly almost certain that he will miss the game on Sunday against Liverpool. But we will see what happens. Like I said, Lindelof's been recently out with a back injury. He's played, I think, in every league game this season prior to the Newcastle one. He missed the Newcastle one, obviously, with this back injury and that. And analysing Victor Lindelof's performances so far this season, I think he's done all right. I don't think he's been the best for us. I think, the vast majority of the games, this season he's done well. I think he's had a couple of bad games, but prior to that, he's mainly done well. And he has blended in alongside Harry Maguire in our backline fantastically well as Victor Lindelof. But yeah, so he should be back for Liverpool. Obviously, Eric Bailly's out with a knee injury until the new year. Or is it there the end of December? So obviously, he will not be involved. Phil Jones obviously has recently been injured. Fosu who's obviously not out with injury. Like I said, Rashford, not too long ago, recovered from injury. We've obviously now got Mason Greenwood with a back injury and that. But like I did mention, we have got a lot of experienced players in the squad. We have got a lot of young players in the squad, like I mentioned, that are developing and trying to improve at Manchester United. But like I recently said to you, not all our young upcoming players are going to become a success at Manchester United. And like I mentioned, I've got some element of concerns about certain young upcoming players and that. And I think, maybe a couple of the young upcoming players will become a success. I can definitely assure that Mason Greenwood, will become a success at Manchester United. I've been, very, very impressed there with Mason Greenwood. The games he has played this season. So far this season, he's only made 6 substitute appearances in the Premier League, so he's not yet started a game from the start in the Premier League this season, but he did start in the game against Rochdale and FC Astana, where he did come up with a moment of quality, because obviously he scored in them 2 particular games. And I think by the time Mason Greenwood's 23, 24, I think, he can become a world-class centre-forward for us, and that without a shadow of a doubt. Mason Greenwood, I think, has played on the right in the last couple of games, and he only turned 18 at the beginning of this month, so he's still got a hell of a lot of development in him. But obviously, Solsjaker said before that it's obviously impossible to leave him out of the team, if he does keep scoring, and obviously if he does keep the consistency up. But yeah, I can assure he will become a success. I also think that Alex Tuanzebe will become a success at the football club. He's played quite a few times this season and has been impressive. He's predominantly a centre-back. Don't forget, he can also play as a full-back. Remember, when he played as a full-back, he played at left-back against Arsenal as well. So I can assure he will become a success. I've got some element of concerns about Chong. Don't forget, Chong has played a couple of games this season. I think he's only 19 years of age, is Chong. I think he received loan offers this summer from PSV when his former club Feyenoord. Obviously, he turned these loan offers down because he wants to stay at Manchester United for at least this season. I think he got revealed. He revealed out the other week that he was in negotiation with the football club regarding a new contract. Jimmy Garner, obviously, he's yet to play this season. We've got Angel Gomez. He said he was going to be a big part of the squad this season. He's played a couple of times, I think. Obviously, he's another one of our midfield options. Obviously, we've got Diego Dalot. He's played, I think he's made 2 appearances so far this season for the club. He's sustained quite a few injuries this season, Diego Dalot, and we're on it early on in the season. I think he's injured at the moment. He was injured early on in the season with a groin problem. I think he's sustained about 2 or 3 injuries already this season as Dalot. But he will get more opportunities when he's ready. He's one of our backup options in that full-back area. Give him more time, Dalot. He's only been at the club, since last summer. My overarching view on McTominay, obviously I think he's been brilliant this season for Manchester United. I think prior to the Newcastle game, I think he's done really, really well, and he has deserved to keep his players in the team. In regards to McTominay being a long-term solution for Man United, I have got element of concerns about that. I don't know if he can, keep the consistency up. But McTominay, he's only 22 years of age, but he's a much better solution than Matic. I think any of our midfielders are much better solutions than Matic, to be quite honest with you. But yeah, I've been impressed with him, and my opinions on Fred, again, he hasn't. We expect to see more from Fred this season, as Solskjaer confirmed at the start of the season, and Fred's been given his chances this season. I think he's had a good game or two, this season. Fred, he hasn't performed to the same sort of level, as he did do at Shakhtar Donetsk. But I think he still needs more time. Again, the club overpaid for him. We paid just under £50 million for him from Shakhtar Donetsk last summer. So he's been here just over a year. We have seen glimpses of how good he can be in certain aspects, but mainly has been inconsistent. To be fair, never really got the opportunity under Jose Mourinho, did Fred. So maybe we do need to give him a bit more time. But like I mentioned, we have got a lot of young players in the squad. And, a lot of money's been invested at Manchester United in the last 6 or 7 years. Like I mentioned, an estimated guess, I think it's around 700 odd million pounds that's been spent, in all the managerial eras since the Alex Ferguson era. That's not far from £1 billion. And, that's not taken into account as well, what was spent under Alex Ferguson. Obviously, money was spent under Alex Ferguson. If you want to take that into the equation, obviously, way over £1 billion has been spent at the football club. Like I mentioned, we have got a lot of players as well at Manchester United on big contracts, don't forget. Rashford on what, 300 grand a week, Martial on 200 grand a week, Jesse Lingard on just over 100 grand a week, Pogba on 290 grand a week, De Gea on 375 grand a week. De Gea is the highest paid goalkeeper in the world. You've got Harry Maguire on 200 odd grand a week. And I'm happy that we did sort them contract renewals out, and that I'm disappointed in some of the contracts, because obviously I don't think there's certain players for me that shouldn't have got new contracts. Phil Jones shouldn't have signed a new long-term contract last season. Young shouldn't have been given a new one-year extension last season. Pereira maybe shouldn't have been given a new contract early on the summer. Maybe McTominay shouldn't have even signed a new long-term contract, was it, last season? But at least we did sort the contract renewals out, and that But like I mentioned, regarding the new director of football at Manchester United, and I think, we need to recommend a new director of footballing. Like I mentioned, don't forget, for the majority of the summer, was in search for a new director of football, and that, there was quite a few former Manchester United players, linked with the roles and that at the football club, and I did say that's one of the structural changes we do need at the football club, is recommending a new director of footballing and that, because you could arguably say if we'd have got that director of footballing at the beginning of the summer, then maybe in that aspect Ole Gunnar Solsjaker would have been backed more. Obviously, I think Edwin van der Sar is actually the number one priority to come in as the new director of football at Man United. I think he indicated out at some point in his future he would like to make a return back to the football club, and I think Ed Woodward, would be. Ed Woodward has actually identified Edwin van der Sar as his number one priority target, because Edwin van der Sar, I'd love him to come back to the club because I think he would be reliable to oversee our transfer business. He's also got the experience because he's the chief executive at Ajax and he's done good at Ajax. Obviously as well, he's former goalkeeper for Man United, so he knows the traditions of the football club. Van der Sar did serve 6 years at Manchester United. So we could get that director of footballing. If we do, that will be obviously very, very beneficial in that. But like I said, we need to see further more investment in January in that, and I think Solskjaer has spoken to Ed Woodward through the course of the summer about the lack of business and that in the transfer market. I don't think we've been competitive enough in the last 4 to 5 windows at least, and analysing it, there has been cultural problems at Manchester United for the last 6 or 7 years in that. But the vast majority of this team, does need a reality check, in my opinion. So the main part of this video, was to give you the news about Max Allegri and all the rest of the other news in that, and as we always do on this channel. So we'll be back tomorrow with some more live videos. Drop your comments, likes below on the channel if you do consider subscribe, as always, and take care. God bless, and I'll see you all again very, very soon.